Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So where did this mantra come from? This Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol, it's Hare Krishna. So I was looking at where does this mantra come from? Well, it's given specifically by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who in his mood of Radha in separation from Krishna, he's invested all his potencies in his holy name, in this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So how important is it? Well, it's very important to hear every syllable. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And to also look at how the names are arranged in the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's a special potency built into this mantra, Hare Krishna, so that when we look at the first verse of Shikshashtakam, there are 8 verses, and they're the only verses that Lord Chaitanya himself personally gave, personal prayers. And the first of them is cheto-darpana-marjanam, bhava-maha-davagni-nirvapanam, Shreyakairava Chandrika Vicharanam Vidyavadhu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipatam Pranamritaspadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, which translates into English, Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names, together, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years, extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. That Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It's the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a great miracle. It's a great wonder. But there are offenses to be avoided. And one of the offenses is inattentive chanting. Initiated disciples take a vow to chant a certain number of rounds as prescribed by the spiritual master. So in the beginning, they do it as it's my duty. I promised I would do it, and I think it's no, don't do that. Don't do that. Stop that. Hear the mantra. Hear the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A person can chant for hundreds of lifetimes and not make any advancement. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the second verse of Shikshashtakam, the 8 prayers left directly by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nam namakari bahuta nija sarva shaktis tatrapitani amita smarane nakala etandrishita vakripa bhagavan mamapi yudaivanmi dusham ihajani nadaragaha. So the Lord is appearing as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, Krishna himself. And he's acting as a devotee, feeling separation from Krishna, because he wants to taste what that's like. And the only way you can taste that is if you taste that position. So, the translation here is, O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to the living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names, like Krishna, Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. But you have to chant the name. You can't go snick, snick, mem, 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 mem. You have to actually chant the names. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate, I have no attraction for them. This is the position. I understand all of that. Renders all benediction to living beings. You have hundreds and millions of names. And you put all your transcendental potencies in the names. And there aren't even hard and fast rules for chanting. And out of kindness you enable us to approach you by your holy names. But I have no attraction for them. I'd rather go snick, snick, ram, 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 snick, 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 ram, 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 ram. Hare Krishna. This is a position. Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Chaitanya. If I have a prayer, then my prayer is that I develop some attachment for the holy names. And I develop some taste for them. If I have a prayer, that's my prayer. what is it? The only price is intense greed to have this kind of love and attachment for Krishna, the holy name. Krishna is not different from the holy name. So intense greed, intense desire to have it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Okay, the third verse. Trinadapi sanichena, turarapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I found a nice little historical biography or a description of Gaura Das Babaji, who is in our line, those of us that are taking shelter of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And he was extremely humble. I was shocked to read some of what his humility was like. I want to read a little bit about Gaura Kishore. If I can find it. Oh yeah, I posted the link. Let me see. It was his disappearance day yesterday. Okay, let's read a little about Gaura Kishore. In 1849, Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji left Grihastha life, family life, after the death of his wife. He moved to Vrindavan and took initiation from Sri Bhagavat Das Babaji, a disciple of Sri Jagannath Das Babaji. So he and Bhaktivinoda Thakur were godbrothers, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur also took shelter of Jagannath Das Babaji for initiation, I believe. For over 30 years, Gaura Kishore Das stayed in Vrindavan performing bhajan under the trees at Giri Govardhan, Nandagram, Varshan, Radhakund, Suryakund, Raval, and Gokula. 30 years doing bhajan. Sitting in seclusion, he chanted 200,000 names of Krishna every day. That's 128 rounds of japa. He felt painful separation from Radha Govinda and cried profusely. As he wandered through the Dvadasa Van, 12 forests of Raj, he would loudly chant the holy names in a deep voice, full of lamentation. He would also relish the following bhajan. I'm not familiar with this bhajan in Sanskrit, or maybe it's Bengali. I'm not familiar with the other language, but this is the translation. Oh Radhe, Radhe, where are you? O goddess of ecstatic love. O Radhe, Radhe, all glories to you. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, Radhe, please show yourself to me and thereby maintain my life. Your most despicable fallen servant calls out to you. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe, O artful enjoyer of Vrindavan. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe, O enchantress of Kanu, Krishna, his mind. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, O crest jewel of your 8 main girlfriends. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe, O delightful daughter of Maharaj Vrishabhanu. O Radhe, Radhe. Shri Babaji Maharaj's mood of renunciation was unparalleled. Sometimes he ate mud from the banks of Radhakund or the Yamuna. Other times he did madhukari from the Vrajvasis. Madhukari is a Babaji's daily practice of begging a little food from 1 to 7 houses, just as a bee collects a drop of honey from each flower. He saw all the Vrajvasis, residents of Vrindavan, as being the direct personal associates of Radha and Krishna. As a result of this vision, he would pay respects to every person, cow, animal, bird, tree, creeper, insect, and ant in the holy Dham. While staying in Varshan, he made a flower garland every day for Rai and Kanu, Radha Krishna. After 30 years of rendering intimate services to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, Babaji felt inspired by the divine couple to see Sri Navadvip Dham. He visited all the Leela Sthanas of Lord Gauranga in Gaur-mandala, and in Navadvip he used to sing one bhajan which means, by receiving Nitai's mercy, one gets Gauranga's mercy, which makes one eligible for Krishna Prem. With Krishna Prem, one can attain the service of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. By receiving Nitai's mercy, one gets Gauranga's mercy, which makes one eligible for Krishna Prem. With Krishna Prem, one can attain the service of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. Gaurkishore Das Babaji was the embodied form of Sri Rupa Raghunath's renunciation. So Rupa Raghunath was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who was very renounced. Completely detached, he would wash discarded cloth to cover his body. He drank from a rejected clay pot. Parched rice mixed with Ganga water or simply some mud from the Ganges bank sustained his life. He carried 2 books written by Sri Narottam Das Thakur, Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika. On Ekadasi, he didn't even eat or drink a drop of water. Recognizing him to be a Mahabhagavat, many tried to serve, but he never accepted. Regularly, he associated with and heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Thakur Bhakti Vinod in Swananda Sukhadi Kunj, in Gaudiya. Constantly absorbed in bhajan, Srila Babaji Maharaj had no desire to make disciples. On the request of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, however, he reconsidered. Upon seeing the true humility and deep attachment of Thakur Bhaktivinod's son for bhajan, Srila Gaurkishore Babaji accepted one disciple, Sri Varshabhanavi Daita Das, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. To keep mundane people from approaching him for material boons, he once resided in the lavatories at the Kulia Dharmashal in Koladweep for 6 months. So he's in the outhouse for 6 months. When public officials came offering to build him a proper bhajan kutir, Babaji Maharaj locked himself inside and said he had already had one. He believed that associating with materialistic people was much worse than the smell of stool in the latrine. Jai. Oh, Krishna. Gaurkishore Babaji advised a Calcutta doctor who wanted to open a free health clinic in Navadvip-dham. Quote, "If you really want to live in Navadvip-dham, then give up your desire to run a free clinic for healing sense enjoyers. If you want to render substantial service, then renounce everything except what promotes Hari, bhajan. All other kinds of duties and services simply bind one to the ghastly cycle of karmic reaction." Babaji Maharaj spoke gravely to a newly married man. Quote, and from this we can understand what a wonderful wife Gaurkishore must have had. It appears that she left early. She must have been a great Vaishnavi, from what he says here to this man who's newly married. He says, "A Vaishnav wife is extremely rare and difficult to find in this world. If one has the good fortune of having one, he should see it as a benediction from Krishna. The wife worships the husband as her Lord and Master. Similarly, the husband should worship the wife because she is Krishna's dasi, a servant of Krishna. In this way, the husband can protect his devotional enthusiasm by not considering his wife to be a maidservant, but she is always to be his maidservant, but is always the maidservant of Krishna." One who wants bhajan, eating palatably, will spoil his bhajan. One who wants bhojan, eating palatably, will spoil his bhajan, was a favorite quote of Srila Babaji Maharaj. In other words, eating here and there simply to gratify the tongue, bhojan, destroys any attempts to worship Krishna, bhajan. Once, a devotee ate some festival prasadam in his bhajan kutir. Babaji Maharaj would not speak to him for 3 days. On the 4th day he said, "You accepted festival prasadam given by low-class harlots and beautiful women. Because you took food without considering its origin, your bhajan is useless." The essence of Srila Gaurkishore Babaji's instructions. Quote, "The divine name of Krishna offers the one and only shelter. One should never try to remember Radha Damodar's transcendental pastimes by artificial means. Constant chanting of the divine names will purify the heart. By chanting Harinam the syllables of the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, will gradually reveal the spiritual form, qualities, pastimes of Sri Krishna. Then you will realize your own eternal spiritual form and the 11 particulars of your spiritual identity. In pursuance of Babaji Maharaj's statement, he said, "Drag my dead body through the streets of Navadvip." In other words, when he leaves his body, drag it through the streets. A group of so-called advanced devotees proposed to commit the said sacrilege. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, however, challenged them. He said, according to Shastra, one who has had carnal association with a loose woman within the last 24 hours is contaminated and therefore not qualified to touch my Guru Maharaj. Hearing this bold statement, the black-hearted Brahmins made a hasty retreat. I heard that told another way, that the reason they wanted to drag the body through the streets was that it would give them some prestige. It would put them in the limelight, and they wanted the attention and everything that goes along with that. Donations, female interest. It really, and they were supposedly advanced devotees, but contaminated, and he exposed them. The way I heard it told, it's a little longer than this, was that first he asked, he was the only disciple, but they were claiming they were following his instructions, because he said, drag my dead body through the street. So he challenged them by saying, so the way he questioned was, the Shastra says, if you've had carnal association, sex, with a loose woman within the last 24 hours. So he first started out saying, so whoever has not had this kind of activity in the last year, please step forward. No one stepped forward. He said, in the last 6 months, no one stepped forward. In the last month, no one stepped forward. The last week, no one stepped forward. The last 3 days, no one stepped forward. Within the last 24 hours, no one stepped forward. So, that he defeated them. On 19th of November 1915, Srila Gaurkishordas Babaji Maharaj joined the eternal blissful pastime of Gandharva Giridhari. His beloved disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, established his samadhi on the banks of Sri Chaitanya Mat's Radha Kund, near Lord Chaitanya's Yoga Peeth in Sridham Mayapur. In Vraj Leela, he served Srimati Radharani as Gaur Manjari. His Pushpa Samadhi stands beside the Radha Kund, Bihari Gaudiya Mat near Radha Kund. So there are two samadhis. One, his body is actually entombed. They place in salt. For a great saintly person, there's no cremation because the body's completely spiritual. So, like Srila Prabhupada also, he's in salt in the ground. And then a little place of worship is erected there. So his body is actually in Mayapur. But there's another kind of samadhi that can be made from a flower, from a garland, the last garland, the garland that the saintly person wore. From that flower, that can also be taken in a place of meditation, or a samadhi can be constructed from that flower. So that's actually in Vrindavan, near Radhakund. And that's a little bit about the humility of a Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. But we have to actually chant the names. We can't go snickety, snickety, brum, 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 snickety, snick. Can't do that. It won't help us. It won't help us at all. And we can do that for thousands and hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. So we actually have to chant the holy names, because that's one of the offenses, that's inattentive. We have to hear. Anyway, that's what I'm practicing. And I'm fortunate in that Krishna Sending Association that also does not want to chant inattentively. And that makes all the difference in the world. I think it's rare. It's very rare. Krishna. Hare Krishna. All right, I'm going to get back to chanting again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Bol.